Well, in this case, there were a lot of politics to sidestep. There were record companies.
Picture this. Carly Simon, standing by the ocean at her Martha's Vineyard retreat. The breeze tugs at her scarf. Memories swirling with the waves. Behind her glamorous image and vulnerable ballads lies a story far deeper, one of betrayal, artistic disrespect, and emotional wounds that never quite healed. Carly rarely speaks of these moments. But if you listen closely, in the silences, in the verses that hesitate, you'll hear them. These are the 6 musicians Carly Simon came to quietly resent, not just for what they did, but for how they made her feel. 1. James Taylor. The ghost in her songs. Let's begin with the one that hurt most. James Taylor wasn't just a collaborator or a friend. He was Carly's husband, her soulmate. Their voices blended like woven threads, creating ballads that seemed to come from a shared soul. But behind that harmony was heartbreak. James's struggles with addiction, fame, fidelity, slowly eroded their intimacy. There were nights he didn't come home. Days when silence said more than words. Carly stood by him longer than most would, out of love and hope. But each relapse, each betrayal chipped away at her. Their divorce was quiet, no headlines, no drama, just a slow fade into ghosthood. She never spoke ill of him. She didn't have to. Her songs did the remembering. His shadow lingers in her melodies, an ache, a pause, a breath caught in her throat. Love turned sorrow, then anger, then ghost. A ghost that still claps from the shadows whenever she performs. 2. Bob Dylan. The coldest rejection. Once, she revered him. Bob Dylan was a poetic icon, a voice she grew up worshipping. So when they briefly collaborated, Carly arrived hopeful, open, and eager to create magic. But Dylan showed up late, indifferent, and dismissive. He barely looked her in the eye, mumbled through rehearsals, and shut her down mid-sentence. Carly left the session crushed. Not because of rejection, but because of how invisible he made her feel. Later, when asked about him, she only said, "He rewrites different kinds of truths." But those close to her knew. Her reverence had been replaced by silent, simmering disappointment. 3. Linda Ronstadt. The silent wound. In the late 70s, Carly and Linda Ronstadt were often grouped together. Powerful voices, emotional honesty, massive success. Carly admired Linda's vocal strength and grace. But admiration turned to heartbreak when a trusted mutual producer handed Carly's dream project to Linda, without a warning. Linda accepted. No call. No conversation. Just silence. To Carly, it wasn't about the project. It was the betrayal, the absence of friendship in that moment. They never argued. Carly just walked away quietly, with a wound that never quite closed. When asked years later about their friendship, Carly changed the subject. Because some wounds don't fade. They simply find a quiet corner to rest in. 4. David Lee Roth. Humiliation in public. The most absurd, and painful, encounter came at a charity event in the 80s. David Lee Roth, Van Halen's peacocking frontman, shared the stage with Carly. And what should have been a night of unity turned into a public humiliation. Roth mocked Carly's songs, her age, even her appearance. Live, in front of a cheering crowd. She smiled politely on stage, but backstage, she crumbled. Her makeup smeared, her dignity fractured. That night, she wrote in her journal, "Being strong on stage is not the same as being safe." After that, Carly refused to attend any event where Roth was present. It wasn't a grudge. It was a boundary. Because sometimes survival means walking away from the circus and refusing to be the punchline. 5. Joanie Mitchell. Ice in the studio. Carly once admired Joanie Mitchell deeply, for her poetry, her rawness, her lyrical architecture. But when they shared studio space in the 70s, Carly's admiration turned to unease.
Joanie arrived cold-guarded. She called Carly's voice pretty, but not raw, and accused her of being afraid of heartbreak. Carly, always sensitive, took it like a knife to the ribs.
There was no explosion, no argument. Just a freeze. What could have been a sisterhood of poetic strength became a wall of tension. Carly later said, "There are women you root for, and women you learn to avoid." She never named Joanie, but everyone knew. 6. Warren Beatty. The vanity that bit back. And now, the most infamous name of all, Warren Beatty. Their relationship was a storm of charm and chaos. Carly was swept off her feet by his charisma, believing she'd found someone who saw her beyond the fame. But it didn't last. Lies, other women, evasions. It all came fast and hard. When it ended, Carly wrote, "You're so vain." It wasn't just a hit. It was a protest. A way to reclaim dignity. And yes, he knows it's about him. Because some betrayals don't heal with time. They find a melody and haunt it forever. Carly Simon never shouted her rage. She whispered it, through falsetto, harmony, and heartbreak. Her art wasn't vengeance. It was survival. A slow sewing together of the self after being torn by ego, betrayal, and apathy. You won't always find names in her lyrics. But if you listen closely, their shadows are there. In every breath between lines. In the pauses. In the dips before a chorus. In the ache that she never bothers to conceal. Some artists scream their pain. Carly sings it with elegance, and in doing so, transforms wounds into music that still resonates, still aches, with truth. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story and want more untold tales from the world of rock legends, heartbreak, and survival, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This is Rock Fame Diaries, where music tells the truth no one else will.